Hello there, I'm Sheldo. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making these delicious almond cookies. You've probably had these before if you've ever eaten at a Chinese restaurant or a Chinese bakery. They are always full of almond flavor, usually lightly crisp with a tender melt in your mouth texture. Sure, they may not be the most flashy member of the Chinese baked good pantheon. I'm looking at you, pineapple bun, diva alert. But for my money, almond cookies are the sleeper hit. They are ubiquitous for a reason, and that's because they are 1, delicious, 2, really easy to make, and 3, dependable and versatile. They go with any hot drink at the end of any meal. They're not too sweet, and that's why I wanted to show you how to make them today. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the recipe. Preheat your oven to 325 Fahrenheit with the rack set in the top third and bottom third position. Then line 2 baking trays with parchment paper and set them aside for now. Next, to a large mixing bowl, we'll add 150 grams or 3/4 cups of sugar, 170 grams, which is 12 tablespoons or 1.5 sticks of unsalted butter, softened at room temperature. Grab a mixer, or you can do this by hand. It'll just take quite a bit longer. Beat the butter and sugar together on medium speed until it is fully creamed together. It will become light in color and quite fluffy. I'll show you the consistency once we get there. Start slow so that things don't end up flinging everywhere. Whenever creaming butter and sugar together, it's gonna go through what I call the hell phase. It will seem like it's not gonna come together ever. All it takes is giving it enough friction so that the butter melts a little bit, and then, oh look, right there, we're coming together into a kind of dough texture now. Smooth sailing from here, just keep going. Raise the speed a little. It's been about almost 3 minutes. A lot of the time I see people stopping at this point. I wouldn't blame you. The sugar and butter, they are creamed together. The color is pale-ish, and I guess you could call this fluffy. Let me tell you that that is not far enough. If I wanted this consistency, I would just call for you to mix the butter and sugar together. Like, there is no air in this. Remember what it looks like now, because in 2 minutes it'll look completely different. Medium-high speed now. If you were to do this by hand, you would take a wooden spoon or spatula and just beat it back and forth really quickly. That's how they used to do it, and it's perfectly viable. It just takes a hell of a longer and a lot more elbow grease. Okay, so I've been mixing for about 6 minutes total now, which I know that seems like a lot of time to be spending creaming your butter and sugar together. I promise you this will help so much. Remember, like, this is the foundation, right? The literal very first step. And if we don't do this right, then you're just building a castle on pillars of salt, pillars of sand. Yeah, so let's examine this texture. If I were making a cake, I would probably take this even further and truly go to the final evolution of creaming butter and sugar, which it will take on the color and texture of frosting. But because this is just a cookie and the end texture doesn't have to be quite as light and airy, I'm going to call it a day here. Once we add the next couple of ingredients, we'll keep whipping it a little bit more, and you'll see. Next, we'll go in with our wet ingredients, 1 egg yolk. So I'm gonna separate the egg here, leave the egg white aside because we will use that for the top of the cookie later, and the egg yolk goes in our cookie dough. 2 tablespoons of a neutrally flavored oil. That can be canola, vegetable, sunflower, anything without too strong of a flavor. So no olive oil, avocado oil, things like that. The flavor of the cookie comes from almond extract, but the key here is to use imitation almond extract, not the real stuff. I tried with real almond and it just didn't have enough flavor. Pure almond extract is basically made with natural almond oil in a carrier like alcohol, and it just doesn't have enough of the compounds to give you that real punchy, kind of almost marzipan-ish flavor that is classic of the Chinese almond cookie. If all you have is natural almond, it will work in a pinch. Just know your cookies might not be quite as flavorful or be exactly like what you would get from a bakery or a restaurant, but that's okay. It'll still be really delicious. We will use 3 tablespoons of almond extract. Oh my gosh, tablespoons. Do not use 3 tablespoons, 3 teaspoons of almond extract. I'm sure some of you have had the fear of God put into you regarding almond extract because it is very strong. Sometimes literally a drop will do. But for this cookie, the primary flavor is that almond, and I found that 3 teaspoons of imitation extract was the perfect amount. If you know somehow that your own almond extract is really, really strong, then maybe start with 2 or even 1 teaspoon. But yeah, just know these cookies are meant to taste like that. They're meant to be quite perfumey in their almondiness. Oh yeah, fun fact. Did you know that almond extract, pure almond extract, isn't made with almonds? It's actually made with bitter almonds, the pit of various stone fruits like peaches, apricots, and I think apricots are probably the most common. Naturally, they actually have compounds in them that get broken down by the human body into cyanide. Obviously, they remove all of the cyanide producing compounds, I would hope. Just give it a very casual mix until everything is combined. Is that better? No need to go super ham on that. About 30 seconds will do. The texture now is a lot lighter and it's taking on a little bit of that frosting consistency, and I can really smell that almond. Ready to move on to the next step. Next, go in the dry ingredients minus the actual flour. You will notice that in all of my recipes, as much as possible, I will never call for you to sieve flour or even take a separate bowl and mix all of your dry ingredients together. But if I do ever specify that in my recipe, that means it's unavoidable and you really actually have to do it. The reason for that is because I f***ing hate sieving flour. It's so annoying. Like, you have to use a big sieve or a tammy or whatever they're called, and it takes forever and you get flour everywhere, and it's just another thing you have to wash. For some recipes, the purpose of sieving the flour and mixing your dry ingredients together is to disperse the baking soda and powder so that you don't get any clumps, because those ingredients taste not so great. And also, if you have any clumps, that means you're missing leavening from the rest of the thing, and then you'll get uneven consistency and just like not a really good time all around. With most recipes, it's perfectly fine right before you add the flour to take a little tiny sieve and sieve in your leavening ingredients just to break up any clumps and mix it really, really thoroughly into your wet before adding the dry. That ensures a really good mix every single time. I've never had issues with it. That's the technique that I use in most of my recipes. I'm lazy. You guys are probably lazy as well and don't want to wash my dishes, so I'm not gonna make you sieve flour or mix dry ingredients together unnecessarily. And that is a promise. 6 grams or 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 3 grams, which is half a teaspoon of baking soda, an 1/8 teaspoon salt, and then 16 grams or 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. See those lumps? Yeah, that's from the salt and baking soda probably. But we can just press them through to break them apart. And now we need to give this a really thoughtful, thorough mix. I would do this for, let's say, a minute or so. We've already saved time by not mixing our dry ingredients separately. So just give this a very thorough mix to ensure even combining. Always a good idea halfway through to scrape down the bowl. 30 more seconds just for posterity. And we're already at the very last step. Well, last 2 steps, I guess. Go in with 100 grams, which is 1 cup of finely ground almond flour. Make sure that it's a really nice finely ground one. I love the Kirkland brand from Costco, really finely milled. I've never had clumping issues with it. If you know that your almond flour is a little bit clumpy, maybe sieve it. Lastly, 175 grams, which is 1.25 cup of all-purpose flour. Now that the flour has been added, we do not want to overmix this because that will develop too much gluten, making for tough cookies. Mix on low speed just until everything comes together, becomes smooth, and there are no patches of dry ingredients left. Just go on the lowest speed possible. Towards the end, I will usually just switch over to a spatula. So I would say we are 80% of the way there. I'm gonna switch to the spatula now, just so I have full control over how much I'm mixing this dough. We'll need to scrape down the bowl anyway because, you know, flour always clings to the side. May as well finish it off by hand. So make sure to scrape down the sides, get all of those dry ingredients. Okay, there you go. That is the cookie dough done. Super simple, right? So here's the texture that we're looking for. It isn't dense, a little bit airy, a little bit light, easy to scoop, kind of the texture of maybe, let's say, like slightly stiffer than mashed potatoes. Yeah, that's a good analogy. And now we can do the actual very last step, which is scoop and form our cookies before they go in the oven. To the remaining egg white, I'm gonna add just a pinch of salt, Whisk it together for about 30 seconds. The salt will help loosen the egg white so that it's a thinner consistency and easier to brush on as an egg wash. All right, let's scoop some cookies and we'll go make some really nice almond cookies. Woo! What was I doing? We have our lined trays, we have our cookie dough, and we have some sliced almonds in a shallow plate or bowl. Here is my favorite cookie scoop size, a number 20, which is 3 tablespoons. It'll make for a cookie that's about yay big, like 4 or 5 inches or so, which I think is the perfect size. If you go to a professional bakery like a cafe or whatever, you'll usually see those really big cookies, right? And that's with one of these green scoops, which I honestly don't remember the size. I will insert it here or something. If you want really nice show-stopping kind of giant cookies, then go for one of these green scoops. But for home use, I think a number 20 scoop or that 3 tablespoon size is just perfect. I like being able to go and have another cookie if I want. You gotta leave the folks wanting more so that they come back. Nice and easy, we go for a scoop, flatten off any excess, turn it out on our hand, a little bit of a roll, egg white, not too much. Lightly brush the top so that the almonds will adhere very nicely. Then invert into the almonds, press it down so that it's about 1/2 inch in thickness. Then allow the dough to stick to your fingers. Take your hand under, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to loosen. Come nice and close to where we want the cookie to land and quickly invert. Bam, just like that. So easy. Give the cookies about 2 inches in spacing because they will spread out quite a lot. So max 6 to a tray for using a half tray like this. If the cookie's down, you don't really like where it landed, you can really go in and delicately peel it off and reposition it. Continue and repeat with the rest of the cookies. If after a while there's a layer of dough on your hand, it will make it harder to unstick. So I'm just gonna go wipe it off on a damp towel and that will make my life a little easier going forward. I think it's just a pretty good baking tip overall. There are so many things that we have to work with our hands in baking and so many batters and doughs and whatever that get really sticky. Number 1, depending on the recipe, either dampen your hands or you can lightly oil your hands. Number 2, work quickly. You can juggle things between your hands. You don't give things time to stick, they won't stick. And number 3, like sticks to like. Once my hand was covered in cookie dough, the cookie will stick to the cookie dough and it'll be really hard for it to get off. Once you wipe it down, create a little bit of a barrier or slippage with some dampness, and that really, really helps. So this recipe is designed to make a generous dozen if you use a 3 tablespoon or number 20 scoop. Scooped out 12 cookies already, but I still have a little bit of dough left. Honestly, it looks like just enough to make 1 more cookie. And so what I'm gonna do is not make another cookie because it won't fit on the tray. Divvy it all up between the cookies so that each one is slightly bigger. Gently peel back the cookie, place it under, and just smush it down lightly. Honestly, I designed the recipe this way. I really hate recipes when you are trying to go through and scoop all your cookies and then you're left with, what, 11? What are you supposed to do then? Redistribute all of your dough so that you get a full dozen? I don't know. It's such a hassle. So I prefer it this way. Now we're gonna bake our cookies. They're gonna go in our oven at 325 and bake for around 22 to 25 minutes, but honestly, don't go by the time. Go by visual and other signs of doneness. Cookies will spread out, puff up slightly. They will be evenly golden all over. The edges should be set and hard when we touch them, and the center may be slightly paler, a little softer, but not wet at all. Remember, these are meant to be crispy cookies, so do not underbake them. Too much moisture will be left in it, and once they cool down, the cookies won't be crisp. They'll be like weirdly hard and a little bit stale tasting. It's almost better to veer on the side of over baking rather than under baking, which is the opposite from a lot of other cookies like chocolate chip, where it's almost better to under bake because we're looking for that chewy, soft center. With crisp cookies, don't do that. Over bake rather than under bake. I mean, look at that cookie. Did I go off or did I go off? I ended up baking these for 26 minutes total. Checked around the 22-minute mark, thought they needed more time. I don't know if you can quite tell, they are maybe slightly more golden around the edge, a little tiny touch paler in the center, but by no means pale or raw in any way. They may not be fully crunchy when they first come out of the oven, but once you let them come fully to room temperature, they will crisp up. They are, I would say, curiously light for their size. And only once we turn the cookie over do we really reveal the magic of this cookie dough. Do you see that lacy structure? So perfectly full of air holes. That explains why this cookie feels so light once we pick it up. There's no density at all to the dough. The crumb is just barely held together and it should be so tender. We added in a touch of oil to lighten up the texture to more closely mimic the lard that would have been used in the more traditional versions of the almond cookie. Which one's the ugliest one? Because I still need some nice ones for the thumbnail. Oh gosh. They're all beautiful in their own way. It's like trying to make me choose my favorite child. Again, that light, airy crumb. Yeah, I can't resist. I'm just gonna go in for a bite. It's crisp and light. That's the first adjectives I can think of in terms of texture. Buttery flavor, almondiness. That is kind of a really nice complete almond flavor because we included all of those sliced almonds, the almond flour, in addition to the almond extract. I think a lot of almond cookies actually will use little to no almond and rely only on the extract for flavor, which isn't the best in my opinion. Let's see if I can demonstrate the texture of this crumb. Like, we compress it and you see how it just basically devolves into a pile of crumbs from barely any effort. This cookie is going to melt in your mouth. Okay, well, let me not waste my handful of crumbs. The sweetness is just enough so that it's still a sweet cookie, but it's not overpowering or cloying at all. Just store, put them in a sealed, airtight container, and they'll last at room temperature for probably up to a week. Any longer than that, then like the starches start to retrograde and you'll end up with staleness, and we don't want that. And yeah, there you go. That's the recipe for about 40 minutes of work using ingredients that you probably already have at home. They truly make what I would say is a contender for one of the best cookies in the world. They may not be the most show-stopping dessert, but it's that dependability, man. It's like coming home after a long day of work to a really nice, clean house. Everything is cozy and tidy and exactly the way it's supposed to be. And you're cuddled up on your couch with a hot cup of tea, reading a nice book. Perhaps it's a little rainy outside and it's drizzling and you're just warm and cozy and content. That is what these cookies are to me. And if that's not enough to sell you on them, I don't know what else is. So yeah, if you do make these cookies, please comment below and let me know how it goes. I love hearing from you guys so much. Like seriously, it makes me so happy. As always, full written recipe down in the description with all of the ingredient amounts and all of the written steps. While you're down there, please consider liking the video, subscribing, commenting. All of those great things really help out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you again next time. Bye. You make me wanna make you fall in love.